It's my pleasure to introduce to you member of the jury of the Public Eye Awards and Executive Director of Greenpeace International, Mr. Kumi Naidoo.
Thank you, Sylvie. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for making the time to be here. This year, we received 19 awards from around the world, 15 of which was formally accepted. The issues that the nominees put forward in terms of bad corporate behavior included land grabbing, mass environmental destruction, corruption, business activities that have hurt the health of local communities, and several other issues. Of the nominated organizations, 8 companies were accepted by the jury, 3 from the extractive industry, 3 corporates that work in pesticides, 1 from the aquaculture sector, 1 company from the garment industry, and 1 international sports promoting organization, FIFA, also an industry in itself today. The numbers of people that voted this year was significantly more than last year. It exceeded 300,000 people, and we were very pleased with the quality of the nominations that we got from NGOs and community-based organizations from around the world. And we want to say, as a jury, a very big thank you to all the organizations that took the time to make those nominations. Before I announce the award itself, I'd like to just make a few comments. And in the spirit of transparency, I just want to say that I do have this badge. I'm also on the inside, and I've been there for 2 days. So let me just tell you my quick impressions. So what you see is that the issues that civil society organizations and social movements are concerned about, on face value, when you look at the program of the World Economic Forum, you think, oh wow, the World Economic Forum is putting its finger on the key issues, because this year, for the first time, they are talking about income inequality. They are talking about climate, poverty, and so on. But on closer scrutiny, what you see is really an attempt to actually protect and maintain the current system, with simply trying to deliver small, incremental, marginal improvements at best without affecting the system. So what we have been saying, many of us, is that what we need now is not system maintenance, which is what the World Economic Forum is about, but what we need is actually system redesign and system transformation. And that is where the major disconnect is between the aspirations of the 99% versus the power of the 1%. So they also have been talking a lot this year in the World Economic Forum about the shifting nature of power. But they are, I would say, all the participants of the World Economic Forum, I said it yesterday in one of the panels, are suffering from a terrible case of cognitive dissonance, meaning that all the facts are there right in front of their eyes, that we are running out of time, especially given the reality of the climate crisis, and that in fact, what I suggested in a piece I published yesterday in Huffington Post is maybe we should not only be thinking about the shifting nature of power, but the shifting power of nature. Because right now, unless corporate leaders and business leaders recognize that nature does not negotiate, and that you cannot change the science around what the climate reality is, that in fact you got to change political will. And I just want to close before I announce the award by just putting a reality check on the table. As 30 people were languishing in a prison in Russia last year for close to 3 months, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released their every 5-year assessment. And I'll just give you a one-line assessment where they say that basically we are running out of time, that we have to act with greater urgency, and importantly, that we have to leave between 60 and 80% of known fossil fuel reserves where they are, if we are to have a chance to avert catastrophic climate change. And then you ask yourself, and I want to make one controversial point here, and then if you ask yourself why, these are intelligent people, these are good, as you say, many of them are very, when you talk to them, they are parents, they are grandparents, they, they go to church or other religious institutions, they, want to believe they're not abusing their wives and doing other horrible things. But the bottom line is they are in denial about the reality that we have to move fast. And when you ask the question why, I think one reason for it is those that are making and sucking profit at the moment from the current way in which particularly energy is delivered, because we have a global economy that is driven by dirty brown fossil fuel based energy, and we need to have an energy revolution that takes us to clean, green, renewable driven economy. But why is there a lack of urgency? And I know these days it's not very fashionable to talk about the north-south distinctions, but the reality is that the people that are paying the first and most brutal price for climate impacts are in Africa because of climate-induced drought, it's in the Philippines because of typhoons, it is in the Pacific island states because of sea level rise, it's on the Bangladeshi coast because of sea level rise, and I can take you around the world. It's not as if rich countries are not facing climate impacts, but who runs the big corporations? With few exceptions, still the majority of the big corporations in the world are still northern based, northern control. It's changing, of course, with some actors. And the reality is that the people in the countries that are in the front line of experiencing impacts sadly do not come from the places where there are powerful corporations or governments that have power. So with those words, it is not with pleasure that when you announce an award, you say it is with pleasure. So without any pleasure, I'd like to announce the winner of the Public Eye Jury Award. So I just want to clarify that there are two awards for those of you who are new. The jury makes one award, which we are announcing now, and then the jury also comes out with a short list of organizations where people around the world vote, and that award will be announced later. So the jury award went to the US clothes manufacturer, Gap, which was nominated by 3 wonderful civil society organizations, a new one called Some of Us, which is an online corporate campaigning organization, the International Labour Rights Forum, and the United Students Against Sweatshops. So in the name of the jury, I thank and congratulate the nominees for this very powerful and well-articulated nomination. The jury, without hesitation, shames Gap for its monstrous and disingenuous business practices consisting of hindering legally binding agreements to substantially improve working conditions of workers who labor under some of the worst labor conditions in the world.